Once again, good afternoon, everybody. Our topic is going to be focused on excipients for drug delivery. And before starting with the core topic, I have just a little two slides on what exactly IMCD is and what do we do for the pharmaceutical company. So IMCD globally, we are global leaders in distribution of excipients and formulation of specialty chemicals and ingredients. Now, apart from that, what sets us apart in the market is that we offer value through expertise. We have highly technical market specialists to promote specialty chemicals, and that's how we have a footprint in over 50 countries across 6 continents. And the major highlights are that we have a market-focused technical and sales team. We come with a rich technical expertise, in the pharmaceutical segment. And apart from pharmaceutical segment, IMCD caters to a variety of business groups that includes home care, personal care, coating and constructions, food and nutrition, pharmaceuticals also, as I mentioned, synthesis, advanced materials. So this is a brief introduction of IMCD India as a company. And I work in the technical services for the pharmaceutical sector. So now coming to the main topic about excipients in drug development, excipients in the pharmaceutical sector. So as Praful sir rightly mentioned that, drug discovery, it's not a one-day job. It takes years and years with a lot of optimization that goes in. And ultimately, when, one out of a plethora of molecules, say 1,000, 2,000, when one molecule is finally optimized, that has to be, optimized holistically to form a overall final dosage form, as we call it in pharmaceutics. So that is where excipients play a very crucial role. Now let us just look at the market outlook, what the big leaders have to talk. One of the biggest challenge is to ensure time-limited effort and to formulate a suitable formulation for the market. Another market leader says that poor solubility of this particular developed molecule remains one of the biggest hurdles to show its efficacy. And another market leader says that the interest in polymers have risen very recently across the pharmaceutical segment. Now, with this market outlook, how can all of these challenges be overcome? Is by the selection of right excipients. So an excipient is an add-on to the active, add-on to the drug molecule. Of course, drug molecule is primary, but if it has to show the right effect, if it has to show the right effect with no toxicity and a comfortable patient-friendly dosage form, excipients are going to add on with it to make it more favorable to patient administration. So overall, excipients have a huge impact on the formulation development, and it is a very crucial task to select the right excipients because all of these depend on the type of the drug molecule we have, the solubility, the physicochemical properties of the active molecule that we have, the process that we are going to adopt to make the final formulation, and what could be this potential impact of these excipients. So just going deep diving a little bit on the ideal characteristics of the excipient. So these excipients have to be chemically stable and non-reactive with the active, also non-reactive with other, with the other excipients that we incorporate in the dosage form. It has to be inert to the human body. The excipient itself should have neutral organoleptic properties. That would be taste, smell, odor. It has to be neutral. It has to be easy to process and it has to be cost effective. Physically and chemically suitable to the dosage form. So if you're talking about an oral solid or an oral tablet, so your excipient have to be solid in nature. Similarly, if you're looking at an oral liquid like a syrup or a suspension, your excipient has to be either water soluble or it has to be liquid in nature. So that is the suitability physically and chemically to the final dosage form. And of course, with new regulations that are coming in the regulated market, that is Europe and US, the excipients also have a very strict regulatory approval that is mandatory. So, I mean, an ideal excipient would be that which is regulatory approved. So now we come to what are those key aspects to select the right excipients. So as an example, we see oral solids here. So oral solids would include oral tablets, capsules. It would include a powder sachet or powder granules, which has to be later reconstituted to an oral suspension. So all of these come under this broad umbrella category of oral solids. So now let us see what is that parameter of the active, what will be its impact on the final dosage form, and on what criteria should we be selecting our excipient. So the first parameter is the dosage, the dose of the API. So generally, if your API is around 5-10 mg, like low dose, then in the final formulation, the content uniformity is a big challenge. So if you have to overcome this content uniformity challenge, you have to select an excipient that is very uniform, that gives a very uniform flow and a very uniform ease of processing. Apart from that, particle size of the active is very important. So while we are selecting our excipient, we have to keep in mind the particle size of the active, and we have to ensure that our excipients that we are selecting are very similar in particle size and density to the active. Because if they are not similar in particle size, then during processing, during mixing, क्या होगा? There will be segregation. Like जो larger particles है, वो because of their density, they will settle down to the bottom. And the lighter particles, suppose आपका API अगर light है, particle size अगर API का कम है, which is the active, so that will be on the top. So इसके कारण क्या होगा? When you are trying to tablet it or when you are trying to fill it in a capsule, there will be dose uniformity. आपके हर capsule में same amount of drug नहीं जाएगा. So that is why particle size and density are very important when you are selecting the excipient. The next is flow properties. तो अगर आपका API और blend का flow uniform नहीं है, then there will be severe variation in tablet weight as well as tablet hardness. तो ऐसे flow properties के लिए you have to ensure that your excipient is suitable, like it imparts a very good flow property to your final blend. The bulk density, as I mentioned, आपका जो excipient selection है, वो it has to be very uniform or very matching to the active when you are selecting the density. Hygroscopicity is a big challenge because many of the actives, as we have seen, has a capacity to absorb moisture. So especially, I mean, in India, our humidity is also high. So because of that, the active gets hygroscopic. Can I request everybody to be on mute, please? Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So the hygroscopicity, so what happens is when the active is hygroscopic, means it absorbs water moisture, it becomes sticky. So because it becomes sticky, tableting process जो है, वहाँ पे the tablets will not be ideally compressed. There will be issues like sticking and picking, which will hamper the entire tableting process. तो ऐसे condition में जहाँ हमारा API hygroscopic है, condition में it is ideal to select an excipient which will which itself has water absorbing capacity, ताकि जो भी moisture absorb हो रहा है, it will be absorbed by this particular excipient and the uniform flow of the blend will not be affected. And similarly compactability, अगर आपका API बहुत fluffy है, अगर आपका API का dose बहुत ज्यादा है और काफी fluffy है, तो फिर आपके excipients ऐसे होनी चाहिए जो आपके API को complement करे. So a mixture of them should be highly compactable into a compact tablet or into a compact powder blend जो कि capsule में fill हो. So these are ideally the properties that you have to take care of the excipient while you are selecting for a final dosage form. Now moving ahead, I would like to address or I would like to comment on the different excipients that IMCD as a company represents all throughout India. So when I look after the technical business development and the technical services, especially for the North region. So this is the huge the variety of portfolio, variety of suppliers that we have. Now I understand that supplier wise it may not be very well versed. So what I will do is I will go into the individual excipients, and I have some case studies which demonstrates the applications and the novel applications of these excipients. So I would like to start with the challenge of solubility that the majority of the APIs in the current industry that we see. So these industries are, focusing on a lot of APIs, developing on a lot of APIs. I mean, let us take a recent challenge that the entire world is facing is COVID-19. So with COVID-19, we know we have been reading into news that, daily there are different kind of actives that are being tried, like, Professor was saying repurposing. So there are a lot of actives which have also been repurposed to suit this particular new pandemic. Like example, posaconazole, which is heavily in the market for the black fungus that is happening. So, but all of these molecules have their own challenges. So a majority of the marketed drugs that are in the market belong to the BCS class 2 or BCS class 4. That means they exhibit very less solubility and very less permeability. So अगर आप देखोगे the entire marketed drugs में there are 40% in the market which exhibit very poor solubility. So अगर आप if that particular API has less solubility, less permeability, then obviously the effect that it is going to bring about in the body for that particular disease, that we call it as bioavailability. The bioavailability is naturally going to be low. So we are trying to make use of excipients functionally so that you address all of these properties. Like agar API itself has a little low solubility, we are trying to explore excipients ताकि वो API का solubility बढ़ जाए in the formulation, and overall वो जो active का efficacy in the body overall increases. So that is the end objective in mind when we are trying to explore various excipients. Now we see that most of the NCs, that is new chemical entities, and the actives that are in the pipeline majorly show low solubility and low bioavailability. So that is as high as 80%. So that is why I am going to introduce a very crucial and a very important excipient that will help improve the solubility of the actives. And that is from this company called as Abitec. So from Abitec, we essentially have lipid esters, which fall into these broad categories. So they are nothing, I mean, I'm not going to go much into the chemistry, but majorly what happens is they are medium chain triglycerides, which are essentially fatty acids. And these fatty acids have been esterified, either partially or completely esterified. So because of these different chemistry, we have different functionalities from these lipids. So when we are talking about Captec series, they are essentially carriers, solubilizers for these BCS class 2 and class 4 molecule. तो हम जब suppose example posaconazole, example हम जब posaconazole की बात करते हैं, it is extremely water insoluble. So how can we enhance its solubility? Is by, if it is water insoluble, then there is a high chance that it will be soluble in fatty acids and in oils. So then we try to explore these excipients so that it can solubilize posaconazole. At the same time, by solubility, it can enhance the bioavailability or enhance the efficacy in the body. So these are Captecs, which are essentially medium chain triglycerides. Then we have Capule series that acts as an emulsifier. So that we are talking about an emulsion formulation, it acts as a good emulsifier. We move ahead to Aconol, which is nothing but a surfactant, but a surfactant which is from lipid origin. So these surfactants, because it is from the lipid origin, it is also compatible to our human body because they are, ultimately medium and long chain fatty acids. So they are not harmful if you are incorporating it into the dosage form. Apart from that, we have hydrogenated vegetable oil, which is nothing but a vegetable oil, but to prevent it from being rancid, it has been hydrogenated. It has been completely hydrogenated. So now this is a case study that we have performed in our lab. This is a molecule, an excipient called as glycerol dibenate. In the nanotechnological forefront, glycerol dibenate is really on the forefront to be explored as a solid lipid nanoparticle or to be explored as an NLC. So for nano formulations, this glycerol dibenzene is very much at the forefront. Now, what we have done in our our lab at IMCD is we have explored this particular excipient as a sustained release agent, as a sustained release polymer. So this is a case study where the API that we have selected is a very high dose API, and it is an extremely water soluble API, which is levetiracetam. So water soluble API को अगर sustain करना है for say 8 to 12 hours, it becomes very challenging because it itself has a property to get dissolved in water and release out of the formulation. But जब हम sustained release की बात करें, हमें ये particular API 8 to 12 hours तक extend करना है. So we are trying to explore if capsule GDB, that is glycerol dibenzene, is a good excipient to sustain that release. The process that we have selected is hot melt granulation. So it is a solvent-free process. So of course it is green in its process. And the excipients that we have selected is glycerol dibenzene, which will be a waxy matrix to sustain the release. And we have the drug, and we have diluent and magnesium stearate as the lubricant. So this is the tablets that we see, and we have also tried to compare it with the marketed formulation. So marketed jo formulation hai, it is with a very basic excipient, that is HPMC. So we are trying to compare how our glycerol dibenzene, our waxy matrix, performs as against the marketed tablet. तो अगर हम ये देखें, हमने टैबलेट वेट मेंटेन किया है एज कंपेयर टू दी मार्केटेड टैबलेट, एंड हमने हार्डनेस देखे तो एज आई मीन व्हेन वी आर ट्राइंग टू कंप्रेस अ टैबलेट, वी हैव टू एंश्योर दैट वी गेट सफिशिएंट हार्डनेस ताकि इट आल्सो पासेस द फ्रायबिलिटी पैरामीटर. सो व्हाट वी हैव अंडरस्टूड इज दैट आवर कैप्सूल GDB फ्रॉम Abitec functions very well in hardness at a very less compression force. So that is something that is an advantage of this particular capsule GDB when we are talking about the physical parameters. But at the same time, we went one step ahead to understand what is its effect on the drug dissolution. So agar aap ye dekhoge, so we are trying to understand how capsule GDB sustains the release. So these are the different compositions that we have taken in our formulation: 17, 20, 26 and 30% of glycerol dibenzene. And we see that the 30% gives much sustained release. That is, at the end of 8 hours, only 50% of the drug has been released. So we can suitably say that if a company is trying to explore, sustained release of levetiracetam for up to 14 to 16 hours, then glycerol dibenzene works very well, because at the end of 8 hours, it has been able to release only 50%. So that is a very good achievement by exploring capsule GDB. At the same time, we have also compared it with the marketed formulation, and the drug release as per the marketed formulation is similar. So, our capsule GDB is not sustaining it too much. At the same time, there is something called as alcohol dose dumping study, which is very essential when we are filing it for the US market and the Europe market. So actually, I mean, I'll just go into a very brief about this alcohol dose dumping. The problem with alcohol dose dumping is that in the US and Europe market, it has been said that alcohol affects these particular polymers which sustains the release. तो अगर आपको ये 12-14 घंटे तक आपको रिलीज सस्टेन करना है, then obviously your drug load will be high. जहां पे हम 750 mg का एक immediate release tablet देते हैं, वहां पे लोड विल बी 1.5 ग्राम और 1.2 ग्राम. और अगर ये अल्कोहल ने पॉलीमर के साथ पॉलीमर को डिसॉल्व किया या पॉलीमर के साथ इररिप्रोड्यूसिबल एक्टिविटीज बताया, then what will happen is the entire 1.2 gram of API will be released in our stomach, and this 1.2 gram is at a higher level. मतलब अगर कोई API के लिए it can also be at the toxic level. So you have to ensure while you are formulating your dosage form that alcohol does not affect the drug release. And with this capsule GDB, we have found out that alcohol does not immediately release, hamper the structure of this particular excipient, and there is no irrational drug release. So that is something that we have, done at our end. And with the competitor GDB, this is the drug release, which is very similar. So these are the key highlights of capsule GDB. and it is an excellent sustained release matrix. And for a 505(b)(2) or for a patent application, a capsule GDB comes in the forefront. If you have to evade that particular patent, or if you're trying for a para 4 filing, then capsule GDB acts as a very good sustained release agent. Apart from that, it gives a reproducible and a predictable pH independent drug release. Dose dumping challenges are avoided. So this is the key advantage. Now, when we are talking about these lipids, functional lipids, we also talk about bioenhancement. So how do these lipids help to enhance the bioavailability? So in which cases are they used? So as I already mentioned, they are widely used for water insoluble drugs. Or when the API is hydrophobic, that is अगर API oil हो or API lipophilic हो, then you have to think that apart from the conventional systems, let me look at lipidic systems to enhance the bioavailability. Apart from that, lipid के सबसे important advantage is that they show improved biocompatibility. Because as I mentioned, they are a fatty acid, and these fatty acids are regularly present in our body. So our body will not sense that as an external polymer. In polymer cases, there is a there is a difference, or there is a particular effect that the polymer has on our body. But when we are talking about lipid systems, they are biocompatible. And these lipids can be used for any kind of dosage forms, any kind of routes like oral, pulmonary, ocular, nasal, transdermal routes. So it is completely safe and efficient. And as I already mentioned, the advantage is that it improves solubility and it improves the physical biochemical barrier. So now we saw one particular example of capsule GDB for oral formulations. We are just going one step ahead to understand self-emulsifying drug delivery systems. So as I understand that when we are in the academic forum, academicians work very well with nanosystems, work very well with self-emulsifying drug delivery systems, which is in the nano or the micro range. So that is where our Abitec excipients also function very well. They have diversified portfolio. So this is an oil, this is an API which is extremely hydrophobic. And from the Abitec series, we have the carrier oil, we have the emulsifier oil, and we have the surfactant oil. So all of these, when mixed into a particular ratio, will give you a self-emulsifying drug delivery system. And the major advantages of the self-emulsifying drug delivery system is that it enhances bioavailability, it increases formulation efficiency. Obviously, when the formulation efficiency is increased, the bioavailability is increased, you can obviously reduce the dose. So dose reduce कर पाए, तो obviously dose related toxicity भी कम हो जाएगा. So that is why these different nano and emulsifying drug delivery systems are in the forefront. And the industry is adopting from the academics. So the academicians, the students, the professors actually research on these novel formulations, and the industry is slowly accepting by reading articles, by reading literature from what the academicians put out in the scientific forum. Now how you can formulate the self-emulsifying drug delivery systems is you take a suitable active, you understand the solubility of this active in different oils. Then you select a particular oil. Now you have to emulsify this oil. So you select a particular emulsifier and you select a particular surfactant, and that will help you to form a reproducible self-emulsifying drug delivery systems. Now these formulations, with the help of solutions from Abitec, it is also incorporated into the topical route. So, the skin absorption pathways for the actives is one via the paracellular route, that is across in between the cells, and another is intracellular route, which is also called as a transcellular route. So Abitec also performs very well to enhance the drug permeation from the skin route, from the transdermal route. So if we are talking about the topical route, transdermal route, we also have carriers and skin penetration enhancers. We have certain emulsifiers and co-emulsifiers for the transdermal formulations as well. So we have the Captex and Capmule functioning as a skin penetration enhancers. We have some Achenon series, which we already spoke about, as a stabilizer and a co-emulsifier series. So this is a short case study which demonstrates the permeation enhancement efficacy of pentazocine. So pentazocine is analgesic for API actually. It is extremely lipophilic, but it is extremely insoluble in water. So because of its insolubility, it doesn't permeate the skin to get absorbed in the blood. So capsule MCM, when we compare it with any other carrier, capsule MCM shows 4 times higher permeation at 24-hour time point. So if you see this particular graph, this is the carrier of pentazocine with capsule MCM C8, and this is the carrier with isopropyl myristate, which is an alternate carrier. So at the end of 24 hours, you see that there is 4 times enhancement in permeation. And this can be attributed to the ability of this particular excipient to react with the lipidic, stratum corneum and enhance its permeation. So this is how we are exploring different excipients so that the actual efficacy of the active can be enhanced 4 times, 10 times, 100 times. So that is the power of excipients. Now moving ahead, we come to another supplier, which is from DFE, which caters and trades with lactose, with different varieties of lactose. These lactoses are majorly used in oral solid formulations, say oral tablets, oral capsules, oral sachets. And the recent introduction of lactose is also for DPI, dry powder inhalation kind of formulations. So from DFE, we have specifically lactose monohydrate and lactose anhydrous. So lactose monohydrate goes with those formulations, which can which can have moisture, certain amount of moisture. And lactose anhydrous are specifically used for those formulations where the active is hygroscopic or active is water sensitive. So to avoid the degradation because of the inherent moisture, lactose anhydrous grades are preferred. So in the direct compression process, we have these lactoses, that is lactose, that is the anhydrous version of lactose, and that is granulated version. So it goes under the brand name Supertab 11SD and 14SD. The anhydrous versions are Supertab 21, 22, and 24 AN, and the granulated versions are Supertab 30 GR. Now, all of these have very good flow properties, and all of them have very good compactability properties. So that is why they can be very conveniently used in direct compression process for tableting. Moving ahead, we have some lactoses for wet granulation. So that would be under the brand name Pharmatose. So if suppose the method adopted for making the formulation is, RNG or a granulation method. So these kind of excipients are preferred. And from DFE, we also have super disintegrants, that is sodium starch glycolate, which is a super disintegrant, and cross carbonyl sodium, which is also a super disintegrant. So how do these super disintegrants work is that they are extremely capable to attract water. So sodium starch glycolate being in the starch variety, it attracts water and it swells, the starch property of swelling. And by swelling, it will help the tablet to disintegrate, and thereby the dissolution process will follow. Whereas cross carbonyl sodium has a superior water wicking activity. So it will ensure that the entire water from the GI cabin is completely taken up by the tablet, and then it will slowly start eroding. So this is how these super disintegrants function. Now introducing to two new excipients. So if we see in the market, co-processed excipients is in trend, is in the limelight. So from DFE, we have Supertab 40LL, which is a co-processed excipient. This is a co-processed excipient of lactitol and anhydrous lactose. So this particular co-processed excipients just means that two excipients have been co-processed. There is no chemical interaction that is taking place, and there is no chemical modification of any of these components. So that is one thing that is very important to understand here. So this Supertab 40LL has a very unique morphology, as you can see in this SEM image. They are being made by fluid bed agglomeration, which is a mixture of lactitol and anhydrous lactose. Now, how does this work? Like, what is the supreme advantage of Supertab 40LL? is that it gives a very superior advantage in terms of flow and compactability for direct compression applications. So it gives a better and faster tablet compression. It improves the tablet robustness, that is, it imparts sufficient hardness for the tablet. It increases the tooling lifespan. And the major advantage for DC formulations is that high dose formulations can be taken up if you use SuperTab 40 LL as an excipient. Generally, the limiting parameter to undergo the direct compression process is the dose of the API, as I mentioned right in the initial slide. So if my dose of the API is itself 50 mg in a 100 mg tablet, so the flow properties of my API is not good, so I will have challenges in tablet compression. So to complement this particular property of the API, my SuperTab 40 LL will help to complement flow and compactability. So that is the advantage of SuperTab 40 LL. So this is a case study wherein SuperTab 40 LL has been compared with the marketed co-processed excipient. And this is a combination of lactose and MCC, which is also supposed to have a very good flow and compaction. So we see that how drug loading is affected for all of these excipients. So if you see, when you have zero drug loading, like only the excipients, SuperTab 40 LL shows superior flowability as compared to the other two. And when you increase the drug loading to as high as 30%, then also SuperTab 40 LL shows improved carrying capacity for the API, and it still maintains its good flow properties. So that means even for a drug loading of 30%, SuperTab 40 LL shows superior flow properties. So that is something that is an advantage with SuperTab 40 LL. And this is another co-processed excipient, which is SuperTab 50 ODT. This is specifically applicable for orally disintegrating tablets. So it gives a pleasant mouth feel, it has fast speed, and at the same time, it gives a robust tablet hardness, and friability is not an issue. This is how, it gives complete disintegration within 30 seconds, and within 60 seconds with agitation there is complete disintegration. So that is the superior advantages of SuperTab 50 ODT, that it has macro pores in, because of which it can it has superior disintegration properties. Yeah. So moving ahead, we also have some diluents and fillers, which are under the chemical category of calcium phosphates. Now, every active may not be compatible with lactose. There is a famous reaction that goes, which is Maillard's reaction, which is nothing but amine groups react with lactose to either discolor or to reduce the property of the lactose. So when we see as lactose as an incompatible diluent or an incompatible filler, we then look for other suitable high functioning excipients. So one of those excipients is calcium phosphate from Budenheim. So Budenheim is a German company. Calcium phosphates is used for a wide variety of actives. Like if you go to the US FDA registered product list, you will see rosuvastatin as an API. You will see sitagliptin as an API. All of these actives do not use lactose or MCC as a diluent. They use calcium phosphate as a diluent. That is because calcium phosphate obviously has advantage in terms of processing and in terms of the bioavailability of the active. So we have calcium phosphates for direct compression, which is a much granular and a much free-flowing aid. So it comes under the brand name Dicaphos A50, Dicaphos D60, Dicaphos A60, and Tricaphos 500. So now these differ in their particle size. So this A is anhydrous. So Dicaphos A150, Dicaphos A60 is anhydrous version, and Dicaphos D60 is the dihydrate version. And we have Tricaphos 500 also. So similarly for granulation process, we have Dicaphos A12, D14, and Tricaphos 250, 350. So this is a quick glimpse into the different grades and properties of calcium phosphates. So these properties differ on their particle size. So as you mentioned, when we are talking about direct compression, we need a much free flowable and a granular grade. So the particle size is 150, 160. Whereas when we are offering for the granulation process, we could have low particle size like 12 microns and 14 microns. Now from Budenheim, we also have some starter pellets. Now this is a very unique concept because as far as the industry goes, industries generally use only MCC spheres or sugar spheres and as the starting material. Now these are a combination of dicalcium phosphate and MCC. So again, this is one advantage how you can evade the patent that has already been filed if this is a claim point. And the second is this particular composition, this particular unique mix of 80-20 will definitely has superior advantage in terms of processing for this pelletization process. Now in the industry, we have some severe challenges when we take up pelletization process, that is sticking, twinning of these pellets, high time that is required for this process to happen. So this is a case study wherein delayed release pellets have been coated by the Wurster process, that is the bottom spray approach, and the API here is diclofenac. The different starter pellets that have been explored is sucrose pellets, that is sugar spheres, isomalt spheres, microcrystalline spheres, and the DCP spheres. So these are the tablets, these are the pellet strength. The highest value of hardness is recorded by the MCC spheres and the lowest has been recorded for sugar spheres. Moving ahead, this is the bottom spray approach. So this is the fluidized bed processor wherein you have these spheres which are constantly circulating in a particular manner, and you have your active that is being loaded on these particular pellets. So now we can see in these images that the dicalcium phosphate pellets are uniformly flown at that particular inlet air temperature and inlet air that has been set. When you see MCC spheres, these are also freely moving, but they generate a lot of dust. Whereas if you see sugar spheres and isomalt spheres, because of the static that develops within the intramolecular intra-bead friction, they adhere to the surface and they do not actively or uniformly circulate throughout this process, processing parameter. So when this happens, your diclofenac, which is going to be loaded on these pellets, will not be uniform. And the end result will be that every pellet will not have uniform coating and uniform drug distribution, which is going to affect your final formulation. So these are the scanning electron microscopes of the DCP pellets. If you see, finally these pellets have to be compressed into a tablet. You have to ensure that the integrity of the coating is maintained. So if you compress a sugar sphere, this is how it crushes. In the MCC sphere on compression, there are numerous cracks that are formed on the surface. Similarly for isomalt spheres also. But DCP, because of its unique strength, mechanical integrity of DCP and MCC, it maintains its particular integrity even on tablet compression. So that is something that I wanted to highlight, the unique properties of DCP pellets. Moving ahead to silica that we have from Evonik. So silica and calcium silicates, we only widely know them as a glidant. Completely in the industry, they are used majorly as a glidant. But we have, tried to put ahead in this presentation novel applications of these silica and calcium silicates. So when it goes to the research stage, so when the students are undertaking research activities, they could, definitely explore these excipients apart from their glidant properties. So silica generally comes in the hydrophilic and hydrophobic physical properties. So under hydrophilic, we have this Aeropol 300, and hydrophobic properties, we have Aerosil R972. Whereas for calcium silicates, we have Zeopharm 250, 600 and FF1000. These are just the brand names. So, at the moment, we are not discussing on the brand names, but I want to take you ahead to the unique applicability of these silicas. So these silicas work wonders in stabilization of solid dispersions. So now, the unique concept that is in the market and in the research stage is amorphous solid dispersions. So if your API has to be stable in the amorphous solid dispersions, incorporation of silica acts very well to maintain that active in the amorphous form. They are very good carriers for liquid or poorly soluble APIs. They are good rheology modifiers. So if you see, if we are talking about a topical preparation, it has to have a certain amount of viscosity. Now, if suppose we are talking about an aqueous phase, vehicle, then we have these HPMC or we have these carbopols which will incorporate rheology. But if we have oily vehicles like Abitec, as we just discussed in the first initial slides, if you have to increase the rheology of these oily vehicles, these starch-based or these carbopols don't function. So in such a case, silica acts very well as a rheology modifier. And silica is also helpful to improve the dissolution of a BCS class 2 or a class 4 molecule. Now, if you ask me how, we see the Aeropol 300, which is hydrophilic silica. So this is how it looks. This is how the scanning electron microscopy of this particular silica looks. And they have a decent amount of porosity on its surface. So these porosity, how they help is these porous cavities load in the actives. And when the actives are loaded into these porous cavities, the actives are converted from a crystalline phase into an amorphous phase. And that is how it stabilizes the API. And that is how it also helps, improve the dissolution property and the bioavailability of the active. So just quickly taking to the properties, they have large specific area and they have porosities. Their particle size and morphology, they show very good flow properties. They have a high tap density, which you can see in this particular image. They have API stabilization and API dissolution enhancing activity. Moving ahead to Aerosil R972, which is hydrophobic silica. So this is the widely used property at the moment, that they are very good glidants. Needless to mention that, because they are hydrophobic, they can act very well with hygroscopic powders. As I mentioned, they are good viscosity adjusters, rheology builders for, non-polar oils. They act as a stabilizer for water and oil emulsions. They facilitate modification of APIs, release modification of API. And because they are a good glidant, they also function very well to reduce weight variation and to have a uniform compact final dosage form. Moving ahead to Zeopharm, as I mentioned, they are calcium silicates. So these calcium silicates, owing to their particle size, have exceptional capacity to carry a liquid on their surface. The major advantage to the research fraternity, how it comes across is, if suppose we make an oil and water emulsion, or if we are trying to formulate, say, a liquid solid kind of a preparation, wherein your active is dissolved in the oil. We know that this oil has to be finally converted into a solid dosage form for ease of administration, for ease of transport, for better stability. So how do you convert these liquid dosage forms into solid dosage forms? That is where calcium silicates come into picture. They have small particle size and they have high specific surface area. So they can absorb water or your particular formulation much to a greater extent. They act as a glidant. They're also moisture scavengers. So they ensure that your formulation is free from moisture uptake. And these calcium silicates also, the property is that they have a little pH on the basic side, say around 8 to 10. For certain APIs, like example, sodium valproate, these particular APIs show their dissolution at a higher pH. So if you have to enhance its solubility and bioavailability, you incorporate excipients that would give it a micro environment of a basic pH. So that is another added advantage of calcium silicates. So now this is one, a demo that we have taken out in our lab. Herein we show that this calcium silicates have a water or a formulation absorbing capacity in a ratio of 1:4. So we take 1 gram of our formulation, liquid formulation, and we take 0.25 gram of the calcium silicate. So by simple adsorbing process, this is the final, outcome. This is how freely this calcium silicate occurs. I'll just repeat the video another time. So in spite of loading this liquid formulation, it still shows good, flow properties. So that is the advantages of calcium silicate. So now moving ahead to Grant elastomers, we have some silicone kind of excipients from Grant. Now, where do these come into picture? These generally are not widely accepted in pharmaceuticals because, when we talk about typical pharmaceutical formulations, they have to have the regulatory support and they generally avoid incorporating any such beauty enhancing property excipients. So these majorly play into picture in nutraceutical formulations or cosmeceutical formulations. So, we know that cosmeceutical is the new generation of pharmaceuticals. So these pharmaceuticals have taken a step ahead into cosmeceuticals. They use these nutra kind of actives like, this curcumin, hyaluronic acid, collagenase, all of these will be incorporated into a nice, pretty formulation. And we know that, that is what is in the market today. Say Nykaa, say Amazon, all of these have these cosmeceutical products. So the excipients that we require to make such aesthetically appealing formulation is the silicone elastomers. So they are best in class in sensorial. So absolutely no competition to these kind of excipients, and they provide enhanced aesthetics to the formulation. They specifically, they do not have this non-tacky, non-oily feel. So suppose we want to make a face mask or we are into the formulation of a facial kind of a formulation. We need to ensure that, they do have that particular humectancy and oily properties. As at the same time, they do not impart that oily feeling on application. So these Grant polymers deliver these kind of properties. They are stable delivery vehicle for active materials. They also have an additional advantage that they act to absorb sebum. So, these can also be extrapolated to a scar kind of, cosmeceutical preparation, wherein we undertake an active, which has to be put on a scar. At the same time, we need excipients that could absorb the exudates that are coming out. So that is something. They would transform into matte appearance with powdery after feel. So these are just some examples of particular excipients from Grant elastomers. But this is a very booming field, and I personally have interacted with a lot of students who are extremely willing to explore cosmeceuticals. I mean, because of personal interest, as well as we know that, in the B Farm, cosmeceuticals is a very interesting subject to the students. So this is something that can be explored. Now moving ahead to what is IMCD's capabilities and how can IMCD and academia have a collaboration to enhance, because research and exploring these excipients is all about mutual sharing of knowledge. So we expect and we gladly appreciate researchers and faculties facilitating students to use our excipients. After that, they have a success story, and we would gladly like to know those success stories so that we can enhance our abilities as well. So we have a technical center of excellence from IMCD based out in Bombay. And we generally, how we work is we collaborate with academias. We ideate novel formulations with the help of academic, professors and students. We formulate, we analyze them, and then we try to commercialize it. And we try to brand it and get it into the market so that these pharmaceutical customers also can take benefit of it, and it could be commercialized into the market. So we find out the consumers' needs. We could do some market research on our own, and we try to develop concepts in the lab, and we try to promote innovative formulations, innovative applications of the excipients. And this is where we extend our warm invitation for collaboration with numerous academic institutions. In fact, now since I handle the entire of North region, I would be in a better position to invite and to extend collaborative activities with academia. So how this would go about is like we are more than happy to provide gift samples gratis samples of the excipients so that you can explore it and you can, just enhance the scientific knowledge finally by formulating it into a suitable final dosage form. We could undertake some collaborative projects together. We could develop the concept with our market latest instruments and equipments that we have. At the same time, it's a two-way street. We could offer some assistance in terms of formulation development. At the same time, we could ask or request some help in terms of the analytical method development or analytical validations. So that is something we widely look up to for collaborative projects. And also there could be some internship opportunities that is coming up for students, with whom we have collaborated, or there could be some internship opportunities that we undertake in our lab. So since as I showed you the Pharmaceutical Technical Center, we have technical lab managers. We have at the moment for Pharma 8 interns who are helping working, and at the same time taking knowledge of this industrial knowledge to make their thesis. So that is how IMCD looks at IMCD academic partnership. So with this, okay, the first slide I put out a big long chart of the suppliers, which I understand that it will be very difficult to understand what are these excipients catering to. So this is the slide wherein all the suppliers are listed to what kind of excipients they cater to. And if you have any ideas in mind, you would like to explore any of the excipients, you could definitely reach out to me, and we could take this collaboration ahead. So thank you very much. With this, I end my sessions in excipients and drug delivery. I hope it was informative. I hope we can, if there is any questions pertaining to any excipient, any technical literature, or any kind of discussions, I'm always open to answering questions. I'm very available on emails. So I would be very happy to interact with you on future such forums as well. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, ma'am. Thanks a lot for the wonderful session and informative session. You really explained well, ma'am. Your presentation is quite good, ma'am. Really
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Now, it's a session is open for queries. Any queries? Any question from anyone?